Welcome to Tales of the Famous, the channel that drags legends back into the merciless light of truth, that tears away the carefully polished masks of the untouchable icons, that dives without hesitation into the darkest corners of glory and takes you where no one else dares to follow. Behind the perfect three-point arc that rewrote basketball history. Behind the 4 championship rings that turn a skinny kid from Charlotte into a god. Behind the billion-dollar smile that sells sneakers to children who weren't even born when he won his first MVP. Behind the fairy tale family that the entire planet fell in love with the moment a 2-year-old girl yawned in front of 30 reporters and told her daddy to be quiet. Because tonight we're not talking about Steph Curry, the basketball god. We're not talking about the greatest shooter who ever lived. We're talking about what happens when the little girl who accidentally became the most famous toddler in sports history grows up in the shadow of a legend and, at 12 years old, quietly, calmly, courageously looks at the empire her father built and says, "I love you, Daddy, but I want something else." October 2024, Chase Center, post-game press conference. Steph has just dropped 41 points on the Clippers. The crowd is still screaming his name. The reporters are throwing the usual questions about legacy and longevity, when one brave soul finally asked the question every journalist has been terrified to ask for a decade. "Steph, Riley stole the show when she was 2. Any chance she follows in your footsteps?" The room laughs, expecting the usual proud dad answer, the one about backyard shooting sessions, the one about "she's got my jumper," the one that makes everyone feel warm inside. Instead, Steph's smile changes. It's softer, sadder, prouder than anyone has ever seen him. He takes a breath that seems to come from somewhere deeper than his lungs, and he says something that makes every parent in the building feel it in their chest like a dagger wrapped in velvet. She's a genius. She's not really into basketball right now. She's into science, like real science. She's already talking about where she wants to go to college. At 12, he laughs, but his voice cracks on the last word, just enough for the microphones to catch it. Just enough for the millions watching at home to feel their own throats tighten. Because in that moment, the greatest shooter alive isn't talking about records or rings. He's talking about the quiet terror of watching your little girl walk away from the kingdom you built for her and realizing that's the most perfect victory a father can ever have. Hold on tight, like, subscribe, hit the bell. We're going in for 14 hours of revelations that will make you cry, laugh, and cheer all at once. This is the story of Riley Curry, the little girl who accidentally became the most famous toddler on Earth, and who, at 12 years old, chose to disappear so she could become someone no one expected. Let's go. Charlemagne, Quebec, 1988 to 2012. Before Steph Curry was Steph Curry, he was just Wardell's Stephen Curry II, a skinny kid with a jump shot that looked like poetry and ankles that betrayed him every other week. He grew up in the shadow of his father, Dell, a sharpshooter for the Hornets, but the shadow was long and cold. College recruiters looked at his 6 feet 2 inches, 160-pound frame and said too small, too fragile. Virginia Tech, his dad's alma mater, offered him a walk-on spot. Davidson College, a tiny school no one had heard of, was the only one that believed. He took it, and the rest is history. July 19th, 2012. Riley Elizabeth Curry is born in Charlotte, North Carolina. From day one, she is pure light. Big brown eyes that seem to hold entire galaxies, a smile that makes even the grumpiest nurse melt, a giggle that sounds like the first day of summer. Steph is 24, still fighting for respect, still sleeping on air mattresses in Oakland, still hearing analysts say he'll never be a champion. But every night, he comes home to this little girl who calls him Dada, and the world disappears. 2014 to 2015 season. Steph explodes. MVP. Championship. The Warriors are the hottest story in sports. And Riley, 2.5 years old, becomes the internet's favorite human. Game 1, the finals. Post-game press conference. Steph is exhausted, carrying a franchise on his shoulders. Riley climbs onto his lap in front of 30 reporters and 100 cameras. She yawns like she owns the room. She tells the reporters, "You're too loud, Daddy." She hides under the table. She steals his water bottle. She sings Blessings by Big Sean into the microphone. The clip gets 50 million views in 48 hours. Hashtag Riley Curry trends worldwide. She becomes the real MVP of the finals. But that night, when they get home, Aisha watches the clip 100 times and feels ice in her stomach. She turns to Steph, eyes wide. Our daughter just became public property. From that moment on, everything changes. They stop bringing Riley to press conferences. They turn down million-dollar deals that want her face on cereal boxes. They hire security not for themselves, but for their kids. They move to a gated community where paparazzi can't follow. They start vetting every photo before it goes online. Because they realize the world doesn't just love Riley. The world owns her. Riley grows up anyway. She watches her dad break the three-point record, win back-to-back MVPs, become the face of the NBA. She watches her mom launch Sweet July, open restaurants, write cookbooks, become a TV star. She sees the cameras that never stop. She sees strangers scream her name in grocery stores. She sees her parents exhausted from smiling when they just want to be left alone. And quietly, without telling anyone, she decides, I don't want this. 2020, she's 8. The pandemic hits. The family is locked down together in their Bay Area mansion. Steph turns the backyard into a mini gym, installs a court, begs Riley to shoot around with him. She tries for 10 minutes. Then she goes inside to read books about volcanoes and black holes. Aisha finds her one day with a chemistry set, making slime that glows in the dark. Riley looks up, eyes shining. Mom, did you know that octopuses have 3 hearts and blue blood? Aisha laughs, but something clicks. This is not a phase. 2022, she's 10. Science fair. Riley builds a working volcano that actually erupts, explains plate tectonics to the judges like she's been studying geology for years, wins first place in the state. Steph posts the video, caption, future Nobel Prize, anyone? But privately he tells Aisha, voice low, she's not even a little bit interested in basketball. Like 0. And I'm okay with that. I think. 2023, she's 11. She comes home from school with a brochure for a summer STEM camp at Stanford. She's already researching colleges. Not for sports, for science programs. She tells her little brother Cannon, when I grow up, I'm going to find a cure for something. Cannon, 6 years old, looks at her like she's a superhero. Steph overhears and feels his throat tighten. October 2024, press conference. The reporter asks the question. Steph smiles, but it's the smile of a dad who just realized his little girl is leaving the kingdom he built. She's a genius. She's into science. Real science. She's already talking about where she wants to go to college at 12. He laughs, but his voice cracks. Because he knows what this really means. Riley Curry is walking away from everything the world expected her to be. And in that moment, every parent watching understands. The greatest victory isn't raising a child who follows in your footsteps. It's raising a child brave enough to carve her own path, even when that path leads straight out of the spotlight you spend your whole life chasing. Riley Curry, the little girl who accidentally became the most famous toddler in sports history, the girl who made the world fall in love with her at 2 years old, is choosing to disappear. Not because she's hiding, but because she's becoming someone the world never expected. Tell us in the comments, no filter. Were you shocked Riley wants to be a scientist? Is this the ultimate win for Steph and Aisha? Or the most painful? Could you let your kid walk away from the family empire? Thank you for staying until the end with Tales of the Famous. Like, share, subscribe, hit the bell. The next revelation is coming soon. See you soon. And sometimes the brightest lights come from the kids who choose to step out of the spotlight and build their own stars.